We're here in the National Republican Convention with Bill Schneider. He is a political analyst par excellence. He's been doing this for years, so we expect to get a lot of wisdom from him.
This is my 19th political convention. I've been at every one since 1976.
Let's take advantage and examine your basic views on the role of government. Since you've been studying politics so long, maybe we can get some wisdom. Should the government protect its citizens against environmental hazards?
I can only tell you the way most Americans feel, and the answer is yes. They think government should be there to provide a safety net. It should protect people. It should do things that private enterprise can't. Now, having said that, this is a country, the United States is a country that believes in limited government. It's part of our ancient historical heritage. It's a core value in the United States. So when you ask Americans, would you like a smaller government that provides fewer services or a larger government that provides more services, they always say a smaller government. On the other hand, they do like a lot of the things that government does, particularly environmental protection.
So would you agree that the government should protect us against environmental hazards?
Would I agree? Yes, and most Americans agree.
Should the government protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money?
Are you talking about crime prevention? Yes.
Okay, so can you live well if other people can legally gang up on you and forcefully take your money?
No, of course not.
Should the government redistribute its citizens' wealth by forcefully taking money from some citizens through taxes in order to provide goods and services for others?
I think taxes can be used legitimately to fund the government and to encourage certain productive forms of activity, like giving to charities. We have tax incentives to buy homes. There are certain consensual objectives that taxes can be used for, aside from simply funding the purposes of government. Redistribution, I think, is incidental to the purpose of taxes, but basically common functions should be paid for, in part based on a citizen's ability to pay.
So you do think that the government should redistribute its citizens' wealth by forcefully taking money from some citizens through taxes in order to give free goods and services for others? You think that's a good thing?
I did not say that. What I said was...
Misunderstood.
What I said was there are legitimate common purposes, like protecting the environment, like providing safety, like providing for the common defense, that have to be paid for by tax money. And taxes should be based in part on people's ability to pay. That's not redistribution. That's simply people paying for common purposes according to their ability.
Okay, would you be against farm subsidies?
Farm subsidies have kind of gotten out of hand, although farmers are very dependent on them. I think we should be phasing them out. I think too much of the farm money is going to farmers who don't need the money. There are too many government programs that give people money for every reason except that they need the money, and farm subsidies is one of those programs.
Farm subsidies would be redistribution of wealth, right?
Well, I'm not sure. A lot of the farm subsidies go to people who are pretty wealthy, based on how much land they have and how much crops they don't grow.
So they're redistributing from the poor to the rich?
A lot of farm subsidies are doing that. A lot of programs give money to people for every conceivable reason except that they need the money. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why there's so much resentment of government spending.
So what about foreign aid? Do you think that's redistribution of wealth?
It is, from a rich country to poor countries. Now, it often is consistent and compatible both with our national security objectives and with our moral objectives. We feel a moral objective to help countries that are poor and are trying to develop into wealthier countries. And I think most Americans would agree with that. And some foreign aid is used for humanitarian purposes, and I think that's widely supported. People think foreign aid is something like a quarter of the budget. Actually, it's less than 2%.
Okay. Did you agree that the government should protect all peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money?
Yes.
Okay. Is the government protecting these peaceful citizens when it forcefully takes their money in order to give it to other people?
Forcefully takes their money to give it to other people?
Yeah, it forcefully takes their money through taxes in order to provide free goods and services for other people, like the foreigners in the foreign aid or the farmers in the farm subsidies.
I really don't understand the question. The government is...
Is the government protecting these peaceful citizens, when it forcefully takes their money in order to provide free goods and services for other people. We gave two examples. One was foreign aid, and the other one was subsidies for the farmers.
In a way, it is protecting people. Foreign aid, I think, protects our interests and our moral values, and those things should be protected. And I think a lot of the programs that government sponsors, school lunch programs, aid to the poor, are helping to protect the integrity of society. Those are legitimate social purposes, and government, by charging taxes for those legitimate common purposes, I think that's justified.
Okay, so you think that the government is protecting these taxpayers when it forcefully takes their money and gives it to other people. That's an interesting idea of what protection means. Usually protection is used to describe the situation where you prevent somebody from forcefully taking your money. But you think in this case the government is protecting the citizens, the taxpayers.
Those are all your words. I did not use the word protecting. I said there are legitimate common interests for which government can take tax money, and tax money is subject to democratic approval. If people think the tax money is not being used for a legitimate purpose, they can vote the politicians out of office, and they do that all the time.
So when I asked you if the government should protect peaceful citizens against people that want to use force to take their money, you said yes, right?
I thought you were talking about crime when you said forcefully.
Some people do it directly. Other people just organize politically and get the government to pass a law like the farmers have to make them pay money to the farmers for not farming.
Yes, but I don't regard that as forceful. There is democratic consent in this country. If you don't like the farm program, you can vote out the politicians who support the farm program. That's what democracy means. And there are many critics of that program who resent it. That's what democracy means. If we don't like the purposes for which tax money is being used, you can try to vote out the people who support those purposes.
But you agree with a system where 51% of the... Yes?
This is our workspace, and you're kind of really eating into our time. We've got a crew that need to come in.
Excuse me?
You're eating. This is our workspace.
Yes.
And you're eating into our time now.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to finish the interview?
Yeah, well, we did this as a favour, but you're now getting in the way of what we were trying to do.
Oh, well, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill Schneider, for a very interesting interview and examining your reasoning and being willing to answer questions that have to do with the underpinnings of your thinking.